Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Archie Tech Experience. Today, I kind of want to try something different. I will be doing a live reaction to the GOP debates that was held in Iowa on January 10th. So I probably won't watch the video in its full length. I'll probably just be skipping around a little bit. So if you watch the debate and I skipped over a topic that you would like to know my perspective on, just drop a timestamp in the comments, and if there's enough of them and I find them interesting, I'll double back and do another one. But for now, I think I'm just going to skip around. Hopefully we catch some interesting topics. I'll offer my perspective if I find it necessary. And this is just a test run, but I do want to seriously cover the debates during the presidential election. So this is a test run. Let's see how it goes. Starting now. We could just skip all of this, skip the pleasant. Yeah. Right into it.
For a candidate in the running, let's start with the decision voters here in Iowa are about to face. Governor Desantis, why should voters who are looking for an alternative to the current frontrunner, former President Trump, vote for you rather than former Governor Haley?
Well, to the people of Iowa, good evening. It's great to be in Iowa to have a debate here. Donald Trump's running to pursue his issues. Nikki Haley's running to pursue her donors' issues.
For those of you that don't know, Donald Trump is smoking both of them right now.
I'm the only one running that's delivered on 100% of the promises that I've made. We've delivered huge victories in the state of Florida, things that Republicans have been asking for a generation. I'm also the only one running that has beaten the left time and time again. We beat the teachers union on universal school choice. We beat Soros on crime. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat the Dems on election integrity, and I beat the left by banning China from buying land in the state of Florida. Now, Nikki Haley is running. We don't need another mealy-mouthed politician who just tells you what she thinks you want to hear just to try to get your vote, then to get in office and to do her donors' bidding. She was in another state and she said the people of Iowa's votes need to be corrected. This is somebody that wrote in her book that Hillary Clinton inspired her to first run for office. I remember Hillary denigrating people on the Republican side as deplorables. We don't need a candidate who's going to look down on middle America. We've had enough of that. I'm the only one that's going to be able to lead this country's revival. I'm asking for your support and I won't let you down.
Governor Haley, a response?
Well, I think this is a time that we know that we need a new generational leader. We have watched our country be in disarray. We see the world on fire. And we need someone who's had executive experience. I've been a two-term governor that took a double-digit unemployment state and turned it into an economic powerhouse. I was at the UN. I dealt with Russia, China, Iran every day. But you're going to find out tonight that there's going to be a lot of Ron's lies that have happened. There are at least a couple of dozen so far that he's done. So what we're going to do is rather than have him go and tell you all these lies, you can go to DeSantisLies.com. and look at all of those. There's at least 24 lies that he's told about me, and you can see where fact checkers say exactly what's going to happen and exactly why it's wrong. So it will cover the fact that he's only mad about the donors because the donors used to be with him, but they're no longer with him now. And that's because he's upset about the fact that his campaign is exploding. You're going to see the fact that he has switched policies multiple times.
I think she meant to say his campaign is imploding, because exploding would kind of mean that.
We'll call that out tonight. But every time he lies, Drake University, don't turn this into a drinking game because you will be overserved by the end of the night.
Well, I think this is interesting because you can actually go to RonDeSantis.com because Nikki Haley has this tactic. If you hold her accountable to her record, first, she'll say, I never said that. Well, one good rule of thumb, if she says she's never said something, that definitely means she said it. And then she'll say, you're lying, you're lying. That means not only did she say it, but she's on videotape saying it. And so we have all the greatest hits. The reality is Nikki Haley is not somebody
Did you say she had the greatest
stand in and fight on
Keep
behalf
it
of
G-
conservatives.
keep it
She ran for
G-rated,
governor
man.
saying she was going to do universal school choice, and she caved to the teachers union. She didn't deliver that. In Florida, I delivered the largest expansion of school choice in the history of the United States. I beat the teachers union. And you know what the results are?
Does anybody know what he has against teachers? Because like he going hard on the teachers right now, and they banning books over there, all sorts of stuff. So if anybody can explain that to me, drop it in the comments. That seem kind of
She
crazy.
was governor of South Carolina. She was rated 50th in education, dead last. You know where Florida is under my watch? #1 in the nation.
Your response, Governor Haley?
Go to DeSantisLies.com and you can find out for yourself. But why don't we talk about the fact that if we're going to say this, when Ron was representing Florida, he said that he promised not to raise the debt limit when he got to D.C. Yet he raised the debt limit by hundreds of billions of dollars. He used to support Ukraine. He supported Ukraine when President Obama was in office. Now he's trying to copy Trump and saying that he no longer supports Ukraine and doesn't want to give them foreign aid anymore. He also goes and says that he wants to talk about me insulting Iowans. Iowans know when you're telling a joke. The fact that he's only running in one state is not the way you win president. I'm running in all states. But he should tell Iowans why he authored legislation to ban the renewable fuel standard that's so important to Iowans' economy, and the fact that he co-sponsored 5 different pieces of legislation to get rid of it. And also, then he also said he would never do anything with Social Security. Yet he voted 3 times to raise the retirement age of Social Security. So if you're going to talk about what you said and what you did, I think you've got your own explaining to do rather than telling lies about.
Thank you, Governor. We're going to get to a lot of these issues in the debate. Governor Haley, when Governor Christie
not
out of the
interesting
race
question.
just a few hours ago, he said the most important issue is, quote, the character of the candidate. Governor Christie also said.
Governor Haley,
She
Governor
raised
Haley,
taxes
Governor
when she
Wanna
was
hear
in South
him.
Carolina. That's on the record. And she even proposed a tax on groceries at one point. But I'm just thinking, have you seen your grocery bill lately? That's one of the things that's hitting working people the most. That groceries are going up probably twice as much what you do. But I also think it's important.
I just want to stop there. I went grocery shopping yesterday, and when I walked out of there, I felt violated. So if she's trying to put an extra tax on groceries, I don't know, yeah.
People,
but she said he lies all the time, so I don't know what to think. I guess I got to go to Desantis.
So in Florida, we eliminated all sales tax on every baby item. Diapers, wipes, strollers, cribs. We want families to be able to prosper in this country. One of the things that's causing so much problem is the breakdown in the American family. We've done a lot in Florida to be able to rejuvenate that, but we need to make it easier for people to raise children in this country so that we can have strong families and a strong country.
Governor DeSantis, at a CNN town hall last week, you said you support a flat tax, which is a single income tax rate for every American. Under your plan, would working families pay the same tax rate as billionaires?
I would only do it if people are better off than they are now. I mean, I want people paying less taxes. Actually, if you think the last year we have numbers for, the federal government took in the highest percentage of tax.
Dude is a liar, I think.
Month alone, 225,000 migrants illegally crossed the southern border. It's a record high, overwhelming the Border Patrol resources that are already stretched thin. Mayors across the country say their cities are being pushed to a breaking point. Governor DeSantis, former President Trump famously promised to build a wall on the southern border. He obviously did not get that done. You have promised to finish the job. How will you succeed where he failed?
We will build a wall. We will actually have Mexico pay for it in the way that I thought Donald Trump was. We're going to charge fees on remittances that workers.
Fool me once, shame on me. They said Mexico was going to pay for it the first time. I don't think that they could make Mexico pay. I don't think Mexico want to pay for it.
Billions of dollars will build the wall. He also promised record deportations. Donald Trump deported fewer people than Barack Obama did when he was president. Biden's let in 8 million people just in 4 years. They all have to go back. We have to enforce the rule of law in this country. Think about what's happening to our country. Just this week, we saw the news that a school in Brooklyn, New York, had the kids stay home. They were not able to go to school told you can't go get an in-person education.
There he go with
Why?
the schools
Because
again.
the city's
schools.
commandeering the
That's
school
crazy.
to house illegal
What does he
aliens
have
in
in
it. Talk
school?
about putting
I didn't like
Americans
school either
last.
while I was there,
You're
but
putting these kids out of an education because you can't control the border. Biden has failed in this endeavor. He has not taken care that the laws of this country be faithfully executed. Do not trust Nikki Haley with illegal immigration. That's like having the fox guard the hen house. She's on tape at the Aspen Institute. She'll say she didn't say it. She was chastising conservatives, saying,
you know what I think?
it's
Let me pause right there.
disrespectful.
This is what I think should I think every debate should have at least one round where it's a rap battle, a one rounder, a rap battle. Like every single debate should have a rap battle. We could get Remy Ma to host it. We could have 4 judges. Remy Ma could judge, or I mean, Smack White could judge. Remy Ma could host it. ARP could judge. I think that they should have like rappers host it, and Nikki Haley should rap one round, only one round, because these debates long enough. And then DeSantis could rap one round. And then during the presidential campaign, they should also have to end every debate with a rap battle. That's what I think, because I can't trust somebody who can't rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would mean so, like, you got all these ideas, prove that you mean it by putting it in rhyming words. That's the only way that I could really believe. Like, you got to get creative with it, because we've been hearing the same stuff. We've been hearing this stuff for decades, the same talking points, the same promises, and they not doing anything. I think the only person that we could trust to actually make it happen is the person that can rhyme the best. That's my opinion.
To illegal aliens to say that they're criminals. They're violating the law. It's disrespectful when people come to this country illegally and impose burdens on our communities and run drugs into this country. That's what's disrespectful. She's weak on immigration. She's bankrolled by people who want open borders. And she said there shouldn't be a limit on immigration. You should work with corporate CEOs.
Thanks, Governor.
That is pale pastels. That is
Governor,
warmed
thank
over
you so much. So,
corporatism.
That's how
Governor
you talk. That's how you know who's telling the truth. Rap about it.
Governor Desantis and also Donald Trump are attacking you for that comment in 2015 in which you said undocumented immigrants should not be called, quote, criminals. At the time, the full context is you said, quote, we don't need to talk about them as criminals. They're not. They're families that want a better life and they're desperate to get here, unquote. Do you still feel that way?
I saw them. When I was at the United Nations, I saw them. That doesn't mean we should let them into our country. I mean, first of all, I will tell you that when I was governor of South Carolina, we passed the toughest illegal immigration law in the country. Obama sued us over it, and we won. We fought Obama on illegal immigration. We fought Obama on migrant kids.
I don't think I could tolerate. I can't really tolerate a lot of Obama slander. So pardon me if I just skip this part. I hate when they start talking about Obama.
We said we are a country of laws. The
Like,
second,
come on, get over it. He was
down there. You had people from Libya and Haiti. This is a ticking time bomb for this country. There are, of course, going to be terrorist cells that have come in. It's like the lowest cost way to be able to harm this country. Just send people across the southern border. Nikki Haley also opposed the border wall in 2016. She said that she ridiculed that when Donald Trump was president. I'm telling you, you need a wall. You can't trust politicians to do this. If the wall's there, it's a physical fact of life. And it's a huge step to restoring this country.
DeSantisLies.com.
I knew she was going to say, I've seen it coming.
Just build a wall.
He walked right into that.
You have to do more than build a wall. It was having the wall and everything else. You can't trust what Ron's saying. But this is a bigger issue. This is more than him just constantly being desperate and throwing things on me. This is the fact that we have to realize my parents came here illegally. They came the right way 50 years ago. They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by what's happening on the border.
Let me just pause there because I got to process what she said. I think she said, my parents came here illegally and they came here the right way. So did they come here the right way because they came illegally, or I don't know. I'm confused.
And my
Maybe she
mom would
just
always say, if they
misspoke.
don't follow the laws to come into this country, they won't follow the laws when they are in this country. And we have to start treating this like it is. This is putting harm on our schools,
Maybe she
on our
meant they came
hospitals.
here legally.
Taxpayers are paying for it. You see these
I
mayors are
don't
now
know.
upset about it. The only reason Eric
I thought she
Adams
was
is
white
now
up until like
upset,
a week ago.
why?
I always thought she
He
was
shouldn't
white.
be a sanctuary city then. That's why we have to defund sanctuary cities. Now Governor Abbott finally did to them what's been happening to Texas for so long. We've got to put an end to this. It's dangerous, and it doesn't even count the fentanyl that's
Governor
coming across.
DeSantis. There are more than 10 million undocumented immigrants already living in the United States.
10 million? I can't lie. That's a lot.
Will
That's
any of them be allowed to stay in the United States under your administration?
The number of people that will be amnestied when I'm president is 0. We cannot do an amnesty in this
You want to do
country.
it 10 million people?
First of all, it's going to do is cause more people to want to come illegally. So you got to enforce the law. It's got to be consistent. People got to know it's there. You also have to remove benefits for people who are here illegally. You know, California, you can go illegal alien and you get free health insurance coverage.
Let me just say, I'm not a Republican. I kind of lean more Democrat a lot of times. But this one policy, like I do kind of agree with the Republicans on. It's like, if you here illegally, you shouldn't have access to free health care. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But
illegally and they're doing that, we should not let states provide these benefits. You know, in Florida, obviously, we don't do that. We don't allow the driver's license and all that, but some states do, and it creates a magnet for people coming in. So federally, no benefits, no enticements to come in, and then the states, we're going to crack down on sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. And I showed the hypocrisy of all this back in 2022, because we have a program to transport illegal aliens to sanctuary jurisdictions. And one of the places we sent 50 to, beautiful, liberal Martha's Vineyard.
My thing, I guess what I'm not understanding is, because I'm like, you know, we share a lot. I think diversity make the country better. I think people should be coming here from all over the world. But like these sanctuary cities, I just want to know, what are they doing to legalize some of these immigrants? Like, are they making sure that they take the steps to become citizens, or are they just letting them collect free benefits and work and stay illegal? I think that they should be allowed to come here, but they should definitely start taking steps, at least making an effort to become a citizen. So.
And you know what? These are folks that were on their high horse, saying how they were a sanctuary jurisdiction, saying nobody's illegal, all refugees are welcome. That's what they had in their town. The minute even 50 came up, they called a state of emergency and deported them off the island the next day. How do you think Texas feels? How do you think all these other communities feel that are being overwhelmed? So we cannot have liberal elites in this country imposing policies.
Now, back to my point, just imagine if he would have said that, but wrapped it. How much harder would that have hit? You see what I'm saying? That's my point. I feel like I would take them a lot more serious if they was actually rapping.
That they are not willing to deal with the consequences of themselves.
Governor Haley, when you're president, will any of the more than 10 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. be allowed to stay in the country under your administration?
You have to deport them. And the reason you have to deport them is they're cutting the line. You've got people who have done this and tried to go through the right way. You can't have them go and jump the line and suddenly do that. And that is actually what will get them to stop coming, is when they do realize they get to the wall and they have to turn around and go back. It's a dangerous process of what happens for them to try and migrate here. But when I was at the United Nations, and we had this, which is another reason why we need to have Trump here defending himself and talking about what he would
care about immigration.
This is about keeping Americans safe. This is about preventing war. This is about keeping our military men and women from having to fight a war. And you only do that when you focus on national security, not telling lies to the American people that they have to choose. That is wrong. That's never been the case.
So here's the problem with what she's saying. She doesn't articulate how this comes to an end, except she was asked after the last debate by, I believe, Megyn Kelly, and she said, you bring it to an end by bringing Ukraine into NATO. But of course, we're a NATO country. So if you bring Ukraine into NATO, that puts the United States at war. Megyn said that to her, and then she basically gave a word salad as to how you go from there. So they have sent cash.
That was a good strategy by Nikki Haley coming out with the DeSantisLies.com thing, because every time I hear him talk, that's exactly what I think. You know what I'm saying? Like every time he started talking, I'd be like, he lying, and he probably not, but I automatically think that because she said
She supports this
she just
106
said the same
billion
thing
that they're
about
trying
her.
to get through
I
Congress.
don't believe either
Where's some
one
of
of
that money
them
go? They've
personally,
done
but like
tens of
while I'm
billions of
watching it, I
dollars
really,
to pay
really don't believe
salaries
them
for
because of what
Ukrainian
he said.
government
He said he a
bureaucrats.
liar.
They've paid pensions for Ukrainian retirees with your tax dollars. We've got homeless veterans. We have all these problems. This is the UN way of thinking, that we're somehow globalists and we have unlimited resources to do. You know, I think here's the problem. You can take the ambassador out of the United Nations, but you can't take the United Nations out of the ambassador.
No.
First of all, I have never said
They
that we should
cheered
give
for that. That was
salaries
crazy.
or benefits or anything else to Ukrainians. I have said it again, Ron, so stop lying.
But you supported the aid
Governor
packages.
DeSantis, she has the floor.
So you go, I did
Yeah,
not support
yeah,
the aid
that's
package. I
crazy.
support equipment and ammunition going to Ukraine. I think it is incredibly important that we're honest and say we have to focus on national security. Don't go and lie to the American people to make them think we can't do this. You turn around and raise the debt limit. You're the one that's talked about, look at what you did to Florida, but think about the fact that he's talking about where's this money going to come from. The best way to tell about a candidate is to see how they've run their campaign. He has blown through $150 million. I don't even know how you do that. Through his campaign, he has nothing to show for it. He spent more money on private planes than he has on commercials trying to get Iowans to vote for him. If you can't manage a campaign, how are you going to manage a country? Which is exactly what.
Well, listen, I'm proud of.
Wow.
I'm proud that in the state of Florida, we're ranked #1 for economy of all 50 states by CNBC. #1 for
Highest cost of
education.
living.
She was ranked number 50 in
Highest-
education when she was governor of
highest
California.
insurance
Governor
And of
Haley,
course,
she has
she
the
wasn't
floor.
able to do school choice. She didn't deliver big tax cuts. We're also #1 for net in-migration, #1 for GDP growth amongst large states, #1 for talent development, #1 for new business formations, and on it goes. So the success we've had in Florida,
I ain't gonna
I can
lie,
cite the
that's a
statistics
pretty
just in one
solid
word,
resume.
but just look how people are voting with
I
their
mean,
feet.
you
They're
can't
leaving
deny that.
California.
If he
They're
telling me the
leaving
truth,
Illinois,
but see,
New
I
York, other
already
states,
think
and
he's
they're
lying.
coming
I
to
don't
Florida in
believe him.
record numbers
But if he
because
telling
we're
the
doing
truth,
it right.
that's pretty,
And not only have I cut
pretty
taxes
good.
big time where she didn't in governor of South Carolina, we've paid down 25% of our state's debt. That's how you manage the third largest state in this country. Just imagine if we could do that for the United States of America.
So thank you. Let's stay on foreign policy. I want to turn to the Israel-Hamas war. You both have said that you unequivocally support Israel. You both have called for the complete elimination of Hamas. Governor DeSantis, there are real disagreements within Israel about how to handle what happens in Gaza after the war against Hamas is over. Some Israeli cabinet officials are pushing for the mass removal of Palestinians from Gaza. Governor Haley told CNN last week she does not support that. Do you?
So we got to support Israel in word and in deed, in public and in private. And they need to be able to finish the job. Joe Biden is kneecapping them. He'll say one thing, then he goes and his base doesn't like Israel, so he's got to do all these other things. This is a time to recognize that they suffered the most deaths of Jews, murder of Jews since the Holocaust. Hamas wants a second Holocaust. They want to annihilate the state of Israel. So I think to be a good ally, you back them in the decisions that they're making with respect to Gaza. Look, there's a lot of pluses and minuses with how you're doing this. But for us to be sitting in Washington, second guessing them, I don't think that's the right way. We also have a disagreement.
I think is it possible to like be against Hamas and want Hamas to fail at everything that they're trying to do there, but also think that Israel committing war crimes? Because I think it could be both. Me personally, I think both things. Like, I want to see Hamas fail. I want to see them all arrested, and put in prisons. I want them to lose. I want Hamas to lose the war, but I don't want to continue to see innocent Palestinians suffer because of it, because of what Hamas is doing. And I also don't want to see Israel committing war. Can I say that? I don't think I can say that on YouTube. I should start a Rumble like Russell Brand.
Governor Haley and I, when she was at the UN, she supported the idea of a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinian Arabs. The problem with that is the Palestinian Arabs don't recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. So doing a two-state solution doesn't create something that's going to lead to a lasting peace. It creates a stepping stone for Israel's destruction. So under no circumstances, as president, pressure.
You know what would be funny? I remember I seen Hollow the Don in a rap battle before, and he had like a sign he kept holding up every time his opponent said a recycled bar or a stolen bar. It would be so funny if Nikki Haley had a sign that said DeSantisLies.com, and every time he said a lie, she just held up the sign. That would be hilarious.
Israel to risk their security to do a so-called two-state solution. She was wrong when she embraced that, and we're right to say we trust Israel to make these decisions. They're a good ally of ours. We should trust their judgment on these sensitive issues.
Governor DeSantis, 15-second clarification. Do you support the mass removal of Palestinians from Gaza?
So as president, I am not going to tell them to do that. I think there's a lot of issues with that. But if they make the calculation that to avert a second Holocaust, they need to do that. I think some of these Palestinian Arabs, Saudi Arabia should take some. Egypt should take some. They've never been willing to accept any of these folks in their own neighborhood.
Thank you, Governor Haley.
Well, first of all, we need to understand the reason we need to support Israel is Israel's a bright spot in a tough neighborhood. They are the tip of the spear when it comes to defeating terrorism. It has never been that Israel needs America. It has always been that America needs Israel.
What?
When I was at
why
the
we
United
giving them
Nations,
money?
I
Then they
fought
should give
every
us
day
money.
for Israel. And if you would have listened to what I said at the United Nations, a two-state solution wasn't something that was possible because Israel would always come to the table and the Palestinians wouldn't. But right now, we have to make sure that Israel has the support that it needs. There should be.
I remember a few years ago, Donald Trump said that was a lie. He said that he thought that it would be easy to get Israel to the table and hard to get Palestine to the table. But he said that wasn't the case. And he said Benjamin Netanyahu was hard to deal with. I'm just saying what Trump said, but Trump be lying all the time too. But that's what he said.
Three things. Give Israel whatever it wants to get the job done. 2, eliminate Hamas once and for all. And 3, do whatever it takes to bring the hostages home. But it's really rich that Ron is going to act like he suddenly cares for Israel when he brought the person to Iowa that's the most anti-Israel Republican in the state, the person that went and voted against Israel's right to exist in Congress, the person that voted with the squad against anti-Semitism on college campuses.
Thank you, Governor.
And you brought.
I think that's kind of hyperbole, because just because he voted against these things, it probably doesn't mean that he's the most anti-Israel person out of the Republicans.
Brought that person to Iowa to go and campaign with you. If that's your friend.
And also, I just want to add to that's kind of messed up to put on somebody too. I don't think she should have said that about
Congressman Tom Massey from Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, that's just cheap garbage. But here's the thing: when the attacks happened against
Israel, it is kind of cheap garbage.
Be a big deal for Florida. We have one of the largest Israeli American populations in the country, and we've been a haven for Orthodox Jews in particular since I've been governor. And you know what? Biden wasn't helping Americans get out of the war zone. These are people that were stranded. So I did an executive order. We scrambled planes and we rescued over 700 Americans from Israel and brought them back safely to the state of Florida. You got to step up and you got to lead when things like this are happening. We also have gone after the anti-Semitism on our campuses. We did that early in my administration. You didn't see our college presidents doing some of the things that you've seen. I just announced in the State of the State
man, I don't want to run
2 days ago that we are going to say, not just for Jewish students, anyone who's having religious being persecuted or being marginalized because of their faith in any college around the country, we're going to waive.
Let's see if they would.
Every single day, knowing that we have a war in Europe, a war in the Middle East, that we have our American military with strikes going on them. We've got brain injuries. My husband is deployed right now. As a military spouse, the idea that the Secretary of Defense would not even be in contact with the president, much less in contact with his staff, is unforgivable.
Governor DeSantis.
Hold on, I gotta see how old her husband is.
Attacks against Israel anyone with half a
What are you
brain
doing
knows
over there?
Iran is behind this. They fund Hamas, they fund Hezbollah. We did a special session of legislature down in Florida. We expanded sanctions against Iran. If we were our own country, we'd be the 14th largest economy in the world. The root of this is Biden came into office and he relaxed the sanctions on Iran. They've had massive amounts of money flooding into their country, just like under the Obama administration. They take that money and they use it to fund jihad around the world. I'm the only one running for president that served in the armed forces. I deployed to Iraq back in 2007, 2008. So I understand what our military goes through. I would never put our troops in harm's way like Biden is doing in the Middle East without defending them with everything they got. If you harm a hair on the head of one of our service members, you are going to have hell to pay. He's leaving them out to dry, and I think it's disgraceful for a commander-in-chief.
Thank you, Governor. The CNN.
I don't say his age, but he looked like he's too old to be over there. I ain't even gonna lie. We're relying on him.
For real-time debate analysis. Stay with us.
He looked like he's a little too old to be fighting anybody war
to
right
protect
now.
kids. I've always said that boys need to go into boys' bathrooms, girls need to go into girls' bathrooms, that we shouldn't have any gender transitions before the age of 18. Just like we don't have tattoos before the age of 18, we shouldn't have gender transformation or puberty blockers. But I will tell you that it's really interesting that Ron talks about this.
Before the age of 18, that's early. That's early. I think.
Disney
I don't know how everybody. I ain't trying to rub nobody the wrong way on the show, but I mean, if you really think about it,
the Paris Climate
I will
Agreement
hope that
They
nobody's
were against the
having any
pro-life
type
bill
of
in Georgia.
support.
Ron didn't have any problem with that. As a matter of fact, he gave them the largest corporate subsidies in Florida history. He had a tech exemptions that he gave.
If they break their bone,
Didn't give
obviously
any
they got to
tech
get rid of it.
exemptions
That's
to
what I'm saying.
anybody
I
but
just hope
Disney. Yet
everybody
when they went and
stay away
criticized
from
him,
this
he got
surgical
thin skin and
table.
suddenly started to fight back. We don't need government fighting against our private industries. We are not woke in South Carolina. I will always invite businesses to come to South Carolina. But the one thing you don't do is government doesn't bully our businesses, and that can't happen. And Ron is determined. Anybody that offends him, he goes after them, and he'll use government.
She just said she's always fought to protect kids, but when she was governor of South Carolina, they had a bill to protect girls from men going into the bathroom. She killed it, and she's bragged about it for years that happened. She didn't stand up and fight the kids. She caved to the Chamber of Commerce and the corporation. She said she's against the surgeries for minors. That wasn't what she said this summer. She was asked about it. It's on video.
She should have a sign. She should have a sign.
I criticized her in the last debate. She took a lot of heat. So then she's flipped and said that there now should be the law involved.
I don't really care about that.
I'm glad she's come to the right thing. But here's the deal.
I don't really want to get
Eighth graders in our country are proficient in reading.
Is this touchy subject? Is this touchy
of eighth
subject?
graders
Some
were
people want to
proficient
use a
in
different
math.
bathroom.
We
Some
don't do
people don't
something,
want
we're
to
going
use
to
it.
be in a
I
world
don't
of
know.
hurt 10 years from now. That's why I want to take as many federal programs from DC as we can and send them down to the state level. Think education. We can move a lot of K through 12 programs down to the state level, reduce the strings that are attached, and that way states can handle it themselves. People in Iowa know best what types of education they need. Secondly, parents should decide what types of education their children get, what mode of education. And we should have complete transparency in the classroom. No parent should ever wonder what's being said or taught to their child in the classroom. That's why we'll have all of the curriculums online for every parent to see. And we need to start putting vocational classes back in our high schools. Let's teach our kids how to do things. We did that in South Carolina. We had apprenticeships. We taught our kids how to build the things we're making. When we start putting education back in the states and away from DC, that's when we'll start to see that we're going back to the basics. We're doing what parents want, and we're doing what the industries in that state need.
Thank you, Governor Desantis. I'm coming to you right now. Governor Desantis, you have supported limits on what subjects can be taught and how, including American history, in Florida schools. You have also made it easier to remove books from public school libraries. You say you want to, quote, make America Florida.
It's like Fahrenheit 451. This dude like Fahrenheit 450 trying to burn all the books.
So Nikki Haley said she wants parents to decide on the education. She campaigned for governor saying she was going to do school choice, to be able to give private scholarships, particularly to low-income families. And she was governor and never did it. She caved to the teachers union. I delivered the biggest school choice expansion in the history of the United States.
He must have some bad experience.
We've even done paycheck protection so that school unions, so that teachers aren't forced to do dues, and now they're choosing other things. So we've done it right in Florida, and the results speak for themselves. We have one of the top performers.
Anybody else ever just feel like teachers should make a lot more money than they do? I just feel like a lot more. I don't think they say that enough. Like politics.
Fourth grade
Teachers,
reading
I
and math
always
in the
felt like
country.
that.
And if you
But
just
since
took our
I've been an
charter school
adult,
population,
teachers need to allow more.
365,000
Let me see
kids,
what they do.
disproportionately low income, racial ethnic minorities, if they were their own state, they'd be in the top 5 in performance. Everyone can succeed, but you got to have a leader who's going to fight the teachers' unions and is going to deliver school choice. Governor Kim Reynolds did that here in Iowa, who's endorsed me. Nikki Haley did not. She failed. And if she can't do it in the reddest state in the country of South Carolina, how are you going to be able to succeed in Washington, D.C.? Now, in terms of what we've done, we believe in empowering parents, and there's certain standards about what's age and developmentally appropriate. It's wrong to have pornographic materials in 4th or 5th grade. And you know what's happened? They'll go to school board meetings all around the country. They'll start reading it, and they say, oh, no, it's too graphic. You can't read it here. You can't put it on the 6 o'clock news. Well, if it's not appropriate in a school board meeting and you can't put on the 6 o'clock news, why are you jamming it down the throats of a 4th grader?
If that's happening, that's true. He got a point. But DesantisLive.com, we don't even know if that's true.
Education policies nationwide.
It depends on the policy. School choice, universal, yes. I don't want a nationalized curriculum. I think that's a bottom-up thing. I want to get rid of the Federal Department of Education, get that weight off the backs of the state and local governments. But we are going to do nationwide scholarships through the corporate tax credits, and that's going to bail out a lot of poor kids throughout this country.
Governor Haley?
You know, I have fought for school choice in my entire career because I think parents know their children best, and I think we should always do that. That's why we passed charter school legislation in our state. That's why we empowered homeschoolers in our state. That's why we changed the funding formula, so we lifted up challenged areas without.
I'm gonna skip this just because they're talking about it. So they never gonna do. Even if one of them got elected, which I don't think either one of them could get elected as president.
Doesn't mean that we should.
But even if let's just say they did, they're not going to come back and do any of this stuff.
We've got to get these programs down to the state level.
Stuff. You know what I'm saying? These
The
debates, they've been saying the same stuff for
America was respected again at the UN.
decades. They say the same thing. They always say the same thing. It's just different faces saying the same thing.
Governors that
Never
both
do
of
it.
you have made central to your campaigns, and that is China. Governor Haley, American farmers were hurt by former President Trump's trade war with China. As a result, his administration paid out $28 billion in subsidies to farmers. You have vowed to be even tougher than Donald Trump on China. If your trade policies also end up hurting America's farmers, are you prepared to cut a check just like he did?
Well, that's why Trump should be here on this debate stage. He should have to defend it. So first of all, I've said China is our #1 national security threat. I fought them every.
I think that they don't really want Trump on that debate stage. It seemed like both of them scared of Trump. I just want to put that out there too, because Trump said some bad things about her. I don't know if anybody saw it, but he was laying into her. She can't respond.
Every single day at the United Nations. I know what they're capable of. The first thing we have to do is we have to make sure we stop selling them any land and we take back the land they already purchased. We need to go to our universities and we say, you either take Chinese money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. We need to stop all of the technologies that are going to China. Biden approved 70% of them. Trump approved even more than that. We have to tell them we're going to end all normal trade relations with them until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. And we need to make sure we build up our military. But the biggest thing, I was very attached to China in terms of trade. And the one thing we'll do is we won't wait for China to pull the rug out from under Iowans. What we'll do is instead we will move that trade to where we have friends. We will go and build partnerships, India, Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Australia, Israel. We will go and move that trade over. Right now, you can ask our farmers, when they go and they buy from China, China orders, cancels the order, then goes and tries to buy it cheap. That's what China does. Our farmers deserve better than that. We will get them trade deals. When I was governor in South Carolina, we sold and we exported everything we were making in South Carolina. When I'm president, we will sell and export.
I just realized, I hope
everything
CNN don't take
Iowa
this down.
to those that are our friends, not
I
our
think you could do live reactions. I don't know.
You're talking the opposite
Oh, I
of
think
what
we
you
missed the
did.
argument.
You
Hold on,
made
let me
a big
rewind it.
effort to bring them
I just
in.
want to see him argue.
On the current course, they're going to take advantage of Biden, and we're going to rue the day when that happens. Second, we got to decouple our economy, particularly things that are nationally significant to our national survival. And you got to be methodical, strategic about it. There's a lot of moving parts there, but we're going to do that. Nikki Haley's not going to be able to do that because a lot of her supporters make a lot of money in China. And so she's going to talk tough, but she'll cave on that. And then also with here in the United States, she's saying they shouldn't be buying land and be in the universities. When she was governor of South Carolina, the state gave China land and they were in the universities. As governor in Florida, I banned China from buying land and we kicked them out of our universities. That's what you want to do.
DeSantisLies.com. He has an economic development arm. You had an office in Hong Kong.
Just what kind of messed me up was him saying he kicked them out of the universities. Is this ongoing thing with him in schools? He just hates school. I don't.
On the website, it said that Florida is a great place to do for Chinese companies to do business. And then when we called you out on it, you had the website scrubbed. So we know that that's the case. What I will tell you is we need to focus on what we're going to do to become less dependent on China. And we need to make sure that we look at it through a national security lens. When we had COVID, everybody told you to wear a mask. It was made in China. They told you to take a COVID test, you turned it over, it was made in China. If you go down the drugstore aisle, all those medicines are made in China. We need to make sure we're getting medicines made here, or we need to get it from our friends so that we're not in any way threatened. But I'll tell you, Ron continues.
Trigger alert for anybody that's in recovery, but that was hilarious to me. She said we got to make sure we get it from our friends.
Continues to sit there and talk
These
about
people
China.
funny. If
He
you
has done
if you really watch it,
expansions in
this is
China.
classic
His
comedy
biggest
right
donor
here.
that is backed by China gave them $340,000. So don't go and talk about donors and money. Go to DeSantisLies.com and we'll tell you all about it.
I know your record hurts. I know your record hurts.
My record doesn't hurt. He's got economic
Yeah,
power.
they
You're
arguing.
talking the
They're arguing.
opposite of what you did.
This would be the perfect time to like insert rap battle. And like
they had land near a
if they just
military
started
base. You were in front of
freestyling.
the Chinese flag saying you work for them. You wrote a love letter to the ambassador. That's well documented. You were the #1 Republican governor in the country. And even people that on the media who are hostile to me, they say they can't find one instance of me as governor recruiting a Chinese company because I haven't done it. It's not been part of that. And the Enterprise Florida, we actually eliminated. So here's the thing though. She's backed
She
by
seemed confident with that. She was like, oh, it's DeSantisLies.com. It's on there. She said that very confidently. So I believe her.
By major companies
think
on Wall
lying.
Street.
I
They make
know.
a lot
I
of
think
money in
he's lying.
China. There's a reason why you're in the mess you are in terms of trying to deal with the inflation and everything, because the elites in this country have sold out the middle of the country for China. She is part of that now, and she's not going to stand
Governor
up for you.
DeSantis, I want to ask about something that you mentioned you've been talking a lot about on the campaign trail, which is decoupling the U.S. economy with China's. China is a top supplier of goods to the United States. The U.S. sells more than $150 billion of goods to China every year. Is it really possible to sever economic ties?
Not saying don't want no problems with China like that, but they all cave to China.
Sure it is, and it's something that you got to be strategic, you got to be methodical about. You got to focus on the things that are of national significance. For example, I don't think it's a good idea that the pharmaceuticals
age and never cutting benefits.
So all seniors out there, promise has been made to you. You've paid into this. Every single paycheck that you've had your entire life, they've taken money out of, and that promise needs to be fulfilled. So that will happen when I'm president. Of course, I have a lot of seniors in Florida that depend on Social Security. I know many of them, and I think back to my own grandmother who was 91. Social Security was her sole source of income. So promise made, promise kept. On the retirement age, it used to be people would say, well, life expectancy is going up. Shouldn't it mirror that? Well, the problem now in the last 5 years is life expectancy is going down. So I don't see how you can raise the retirement age when our life expectancy is collapsing in this country. That's a huge problem in and of itself. I'll work with both sides of the aisle. We'll work on something for the long-term strengthening, but I am not going to mess with seniors' benefits. In this high inflation environment, groceries are going through the roof. Rent is going through the roof, all these staples, and you get a cost of living adjustment, but that's not enough to cover the costs that have been increased. So seniors are really strapped, particularly those that are on fixed income, and they have to know that we're going to deliver when it comes to their Social Security check. Now, we're going to get inflation down. We're going to get energy costs down. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to help seniors. But I think seniors should know promise made will be a promise kept.
So just a point of clarification, 15 seconds.
Can't
Removing
trust them,
current
though, 'cause they are
seniors from
lying.
the equation, you're not saying that you're committing to never raising the retirement age or cutting benefits.
I would never raise the retirement age in the face of declining life expectancy. I mean, I think that would be really bad. I mean, just think about it. That hurts blue collar folks. You get taxed your entire life. Life expectancy's down. You may not even be recouping very many benefits. And so life expectancy is declining. That's a big
Governor
problem.
Haley?
3 years in a row, he voted to raise life expectancy to 70 years old. 3 years in a row. Go to DeSantisLies.com and you'll see it. So now suddenly he's going to tell you
got all the lies
he's not
on
going to
one
do it. You
website.
can't trust him.
She
But
thorough
I'll
to
tell
that.
you, Social Security is going to go bankrupt in 10 years. Medicare is going to go bankrupt in 8. He talks about taking care of seniors. Right now, Florida is the inflation hotspot. It's the highest cost of living of any state in the country. Seniors are having to leave because they can't afford it. It's documented in DeSantisLies.com. What I'll tell you we have to do is we have to keep our promises to seniors, but we also can't put our head in the sand. For those like Ron saying they're not going to touch Social Security, that means they're going to leave after 4 or 8 years and leave it bankrupt? No. What we do is we go to those in their 20s and say we're going to change the retirement age to reflect life.
Constitution, it says very simply, Congress shall make no law respecting the citizens of the United States that does not also apply to members of Congress themselves.
I want to turn now to the
What's that?
topic of abortion, which of course has been hotly debated in this Republican primary campaign. Governor Haley, last week, Governor Desantis said that former President Trump is not pro-life. Do you agree?
I mean, look, I think that he did some pro-life things when he was president. You'd have to ask him. That's why he should be on this debate stage. Don't ask me what President Trump thinks. You need to have him on this debate stage and ask him for yourself.
Governor Desantis?
Well, look, I think that we've stood very strongly for a culture of life. Governor Reynolds is here. She has stood strongly for a culture of life and enact pro-life protection. We've done it in the state of Florida. Donald Trump has attacked that. What they did under Governor Reynolds here in Iowa, he said that that's a, quote, terrible, terrible thing. I don't know how you square that. He was at the March for Life when he was president his last year, and he said that life's a gift from God, that the unborn are made in the image of God, and that you needed to have protections for that human life. And now saying it's a terrible, terrible thing. He's given a gift to the left to weaponize that against pro-lifers, and that's wrong. But here's the thing. Republicans need to do a better job of lifting up folks who are having children. It's very difficult to raise kids in this environment. You need to help with medical care. You need to help with affordability, and we need to help with education choice. You got to be pro-life for the whole life, and you got to have some compassion for what is going on in this country.
Governor.
Thank you, Governor.
If we talking about I ain't going to really get into it, but because I don't want to talk about what women could do with their own body, so I'm gonna leave that alone. But I just feel like if you're gonna say compassion, then you gotta have compassion all the way around the board, my man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Governor, yesterday in Iowa, you criticized Governor Haley on this issue of abortion. You said she's, quote, indulged in left-wing tropes and chastised pro-lifers. Do you believe Governor Haley is sufficiently pro-life?
I think she's been confused on the issue. I think she's trying to speak to different groups with different things. But when she says things like pro-lifers need to stop talking about throwing women in jail, that's a trope. No one I've ever met thinks that that's something that's appropriate. These women are in vulnerable situations. They don't get any help a lot of times from these fathers who don't want to be there supportive. A lot of times they don't have resources themselves. So it's a very difficult situation. And we've got to have compassion for those situations. But I think when she starts bringing that in, that's using the language of the left to try to attack pro-lifers. So I think that is wrong. But at the end of the day, I do agree with her on this. Donald Trump should be on this stage. He owes it to you here in Iowa to explain.
He's lying right now because they don't want Donald Trump on that stage because they scared of him.
Saying whether a man can become a woman or not.
You can tell by like how they talk about him when they do talk about him.
$1 billion plus big, beautiful new FBI building right in the heart of the swamp in Washington, D.C. He needs to explain why he didn't build the wall and why he added $7.8 trillion to the debt.
Oh,
Every
yeah,
candidate
explain
needs
that.
to earn your vote. Nobody's entitled to your vote. And he comes in here every now and then, he does his spiel, and then he leaves. I've shown up to all 99 counties because it's important. You're a servant of the people. You are not a ruler over the people. And that's the type of
Yeah,
president that
tell
we
him.
will be.
DeSantis, he ain't gonna listen, but tell him.
Haley, your response?
That's true. That's all facts. He just said. Can't put that on
I didn't hear the
DeSantisLive.com because he was
criticism
telling the
from
truth
Ron
right
about
there.
me for being pro-life, but I'm not surprised. It's something that he does all day, every day. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband is adopted. And I've got my two sweet children sitting in front of me, and I had trouble having both of them. These fellas don't know how to talk about abortion. I have said over and over again, the Democrats put fear in women on abortion, and Republicans.
I'm sorry. Anybody want to clear that up in the comments because I might be just ignorant to what does her husband being adopted have to do with being pro-life? Is she saying because like if you don't get an abortion and you just put the baby up for adoption? Oh, I see what she's saying, but I see what she's saying.
Republicans have used judgment. This is too personal of an issue to put fear or judgment. Our goal should be, how do we save as many babies as possible and support as many moms as possible? That's what we're going to focus on doing. We're not going to demonize this issue anymore. We're not going to play politics with this issue anymore. We're going to treat it like the respectful issue that it is. And the tropes that you want to talk about, you keep saying, where is anybody talking about putting a woman in jail or giving her the death penalty? South Carolina. There is legislation right now that would put a woman in jail if she got an abortion.
Thank you, Governor.
That's
Thank you, Governor. So
No, that can't be true. Somebody got a fact. That's like
I do want to remind the viewers at home.
He said that probably. I guess
mentioned
Republicans
that
though
believe
they.
that Donald Trump should
I
be
guess they
here
probably all feel like
defending
that.
his own record. I just want to remind
When
everybody that he did
if she
qualify for
become
this
the
debate,
nominee, she
and he,
should
did
not
not
say that.
accept our
She should
invitation.
not say
Both
that.
of you talk about
The
how
general
important it is
election, I
to
will
protect
not
the
go
U.S.
over.
Constitution. 2 years after losing the 2020 election, Donald Trump wrote on social media about his baseless election lies, quote, "A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution," unquote. On that subject, former Vice President Mike Pence has said that on January 6, 2021, Donald Trump put himself over the Constitution. Governor Haley, is there any meaningful difference in how you and Donald Trump view the Constitution?
I mean, look, you take an oath to the Constitution, and I think what you're seeing is Donald Trump basically said that the election was stolen. He went on talking about the election being stolen. He said that January 6th was a beautiful day. I think January 6th was a terrible day, and we should never want to see that happen again. And I think we have to always be strong on the fact that, look, we want fair elections, and we saw some discrepancies in those elections in 2020 that should be concerning. That's why I passed voter ID in South Carolina. That's why I think when absentee ballots go out, you should be able to verify signatures. That's why I think ballots need to be counted on election day, and you should get results on election day. But that election, Trump lost it. Biden won that election.
You should have just
the
said,
idea that he's
that's all you got to say.
this
Say that and then stay
to
there.
the point that he's going to continue to say these things to scare the American people are wrong. We've seen a lot of states come together and do more election integrity bills. We need to do more than that. We still have 3 or 4 states that I'm worried about that don't have that. But at the end of the day, I will always defend and fight for the Constitution. That's what we should do as Americans. I think what happened on January 6th was a terrible day, and I think President Trump will have to answer for it.
So just a clarification. Governor. Yeah. Is there any meaningful difference in how you and Donald Trump view the Constitution?
Well, I mean, I think that he says January 6th was a beautiful day. I don't think it was a beautiful day. I think you look at that. He thinks that he could go and bring in the fact that he wanted to change what the states did, the fact that he wanted to overturn the elections in D.C., those votes happen at the state level. You don't ever allow in D.C. for those votes to be changed at the federal level. Governor. States' rights matter.
Thank you, Governor. Governor DeSantis, is there any meaningful difference in how you and Donald Trump view the Constitution?
My role model for how to do the Constitution is George Washington. He said, "The Constitution is the guide that I will never abandon." And I remember when I took an oath to be an officer in the U.S. Navy, you raise that hand, you put that left hand on the Bible, And it's interesting, the oath doesn't say that you're going to defend the shores of the United States,
It's hard to
engage in military conflict.
I
The
know
oath
it's probably
simply
hard for y'all to
says
sit through
that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. About the validity of the charges. I don't think he gets through that. And so what are we going to do as Republicans in terms of who we nominate for president? If Trump is the nominee, it's going to be about January 6th, legal issues, criminal trials.
That's why I say they should
Democrats
rap,
and the media
because you
would
can't
love
put
to
that.
run with that. I'm not running for my issues. I'm running for your issues. We need to make this election a referendum on the failures of Joe Biden, the failures of the Democratic Party, and how we have the formula to engineer a great comeback for this country. That's what I would do.
Thank you, Governor. Governor Haley. Governor Haley, your response?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The question was, do you agree with the argument Donald Trump's lawyer made in court that a president should have immunity for any conduct, including in ordering the assassination of a political rival, unless that president is impeached and convicted by the Senate for that offense first?
No, that's ridiculous. That's
Right.
absolutely ridiculous.
Nobody should be above
we need
the
to
law.
use some common sense here. You can't go and kill a political rival and then claim, immunity from a president. I think we have to start doing things that are right. And, Ron said we should have leaders that we can look up to. Well, then stop lying, because nobody's going to look up to you if you're lying. But what I do think we need to look at is what has President Trump done? You look at the last few years.
Every time I think that's what I think.
It's divided over extremes. It's divided over hatred. It's divided over the fact that people think.
We almost done.
Voters here. Some
I know it's not interesting to everybody, but
specifics of
I'm
what you might
interested
do as
in it. It's
president. Governor Haley,
entertaining.
as governor
I
of
don't know
South
why I
Carolina,
always
you
feel
chose not to
entertained
expand Medicaid under Obamacare. 40 states,
I think
including
like they
this one
so
where we
funny,
are,
but I
Iowa,
don't
did
think that they
expand
need to
Medicaid,
be
covering
funny.
more than
but it's
18
funny
million
though.
Americans. As president, would you allow those states to keep their expansions in place?
Well, the first thing is we have to look at the fact that how can we be the best country in the world with the most expensive health care in the world? And so the way we're going to deal with it is we're going to open it all up, from the hospitals to the insurance companies to the doctor's offices to the pharmaceuticals to the PBMs. Make them have to show us everything, because right now I can tell you we take care of my parents. They're 87 and 90. My dad is in the hospital right now. When my mom was in the hospital, a nurse came up to her to give her a couple of Tylenol, and she said, "I don't need them." And she said, "Honey, you might as well take them because you're going to pay for them anyway." When we got the bill from the hospital, no one talked to us about that. Right now, you have insurance companies and hospitals deciding what it is for us. We're going to take the patient out of the back seat and put them in the driver's seat. We're going to make sure that just like when you get your car fixed and you go and they say, we can give you a temporary fix and it'll cost this much money, or we can give you a permanent fix and it's going to cost that much money. We're going to go and make it transparent so that we can see everything, so that they have to show us their warts. The second thing is we're going to pass tort reform around this country. I did that in South Carolina. Doctors don't give you those 10 tests because they want to. It's for the 90% chance they'll get sued. And then we're going to go and eliminate certificate of need in this country. I did that in South Carolina as well. That basically says if you have a hospital here, you can't have another hospital for X number of miles. They do the same thing for surgical centers, for nursing homes. We're going to put competition back in healthcare so that healthcare is fighting for the patient. That way services go up and costs go down.
Governor Haley, just a 15-second point of clarification. Would you allow the states that accepted Medicaid expansion to keep that?
So the problem with Medicaid is it needs to be sent down as block grants. Governors can best decide how to do that.
Just answer the question.
Towards mental health, whether they need to use it towards support services.
Would you allow them
right
to
now,
keep
I
the
would send
expansion?
all of that down to the states. The problem is they're only sending a small portion of it. They need to send more of that so that states can better take care of it.
She
Governor
wasted
DeSantis,
that
your
15
response
seconds.
on whether you
Somebody
would allow
that don't,
Iowa and
for
the
somebody
other
that don't
39
like
states
TikTok, she sure do
accepted
make.
Medicaid
She
expansion
made great
to
use
keep
of
it.
15 seconds.
Well,
let me
I've
tell
spoken with
you.
a lot of folks here in Iowa, and we need healthcare that's accessible.
What do you think is causing the crisis, and what would you do to fix it?
Well, I think we saw it exacerbated by COVID. I mean, with the school lockdowns and everything else, we see young people now with more anxiety, stress, and depression than ever before. 1 in 3 people right now suffer from mental health issues. But if treated, they can live a perfectly normal life. The problem is we don't have enough mental health therapists. We don't have enough mental health treatment centers. We don't have enough addiction centers. And if you happen to be lucky enough to get one of those three, insurance doesn't cover it. We have got to start dealing with this because it's become a huge issue. And that's why we need to have more telehealth so that people can get the mental health care they need right when they need it. We need to have mental health counselors in schools so they can identify when a child has a problem, that they can get the help that they need. But right now, we've got to get access to care. And that's, again, why I want to move those federal programs down to the state level, because states know they need more mental health support. They're not getting the dollars to do it. We don't need DC bureaucrats handling that. We need this on the ground so that we can get the mental health centers, get the therapists, and get the help that people need so that they can be healthy again.
Governor Desantis, you said right here in Iowa this summer that closing mental health institutions, a policy supported by Ronald Reagan, was a mistake. As president, would you restore federal funding to those mental health institutions?
Yes, we need more people in institutionalized settings, unfortunately. But, Governor Haley mentioned, I think correctly, the devastating mental health consequences for these school closures, a lot of things that happened during COVID. I never recalled seeing her out there fighting the fight. I was on the front lines on that. Governor Kim Reynolds was on the front lines on that. We fought back against the biomedical state. We were attacked by the media. We were attacked by the pharmaceutical companies. We were attacked by the left, attacked by Fauci. We stood and we helped people. And Iowa and Florida had the best schools opening in the entire pandemic because we led. That's what you want to do. Now, in terms of mental health, I've run into veterans here in Iowa. And I think we have a significant problem with veterans, particularly the post 9/11 veterans. And we know the stats on suicide. It's really, really sad. And as a fellow veteran, as president, I have to put that issue on the front burner. We can't keep turning a blind eye to what's happening to our vets. It's not going to be done just through the VA. And it can't be done just by pumping people with pharmaceuticals. If a veteran has post-traumatic stress, you need more than just that. So we're going to use the VA to link veterans with resources that are throughout our country. For example, in Florida, we have an organization that trains.
That, like, one thing that really, really bothers me is how America treats its veterans when they come back from war, man. It's terrible. It's really, really terrible.
Service dogs
we
to be able to be paired with veterans with post-traumatic stress. They understand the symptoms, they mitigate it, and you know what? The suicide rate is close to zero as a result of that. We got to think bigger than these bureaucracies, and we've got to be there for our vets and their mental health.
Thank you, Governor. Turning
I could clap it up
to
for
the
that.
topic of
That's
climate,
one clap. This whole
the
debate. I
hottest
could
year
clap it up
ever
for that.
recorded on Earth, and Americans are already feeling the impact. Just yesterday, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reported that the U.S. experienced 28 weather and climate-related disasters that cost at least $1 billion last year, another record. Governor Desantis here in Florida, Governor Desantis here in Iowa, massive flooding has left farmers underwater. In Florida, rising seas threaten coastal cities. You have taken action in your home state to mitigate the problems of rising seas. But as president, would you do anything to deal with the underlying cause, which scientists agree requires cutting carbon emissions?
So on day one as president, we take Biden's Green New Deal, we tear it up and we throw it in the trash can. It is bad for this country. We have to have reliable energy. And here's the thing, they talk about, Joe Biden has said that global warming is worse than a nuclear war. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, gee, John Kerry hasn't given up his private jet. Obama hasn't given up his Martha's Vineyard seaside mansion. I haven't seen Biden do anything to hold China accountable, except making sure that Hunter gets his money. So these guys talk out of one side of their mouth and then they behave in another way. And I think that's wrong. But I also think that those policies would devastate communities, particularly here in Iowa. I mean, for example, he wants to mandate electric vehicles.
Is that something that you would do as president?
What I would do is, first of all, defund sanctuary cities. It's hugely important that we do that. That's where we're seeing a lot of crime. But the second thing is our law enforcement is demoralized right now, because if they go and they arrest someone for having a stolen gun, it's demoralizing when they go through all that effort, put their lives at risk, and then you turn around and let that criminal go the very next day. Prosecutors need to prosecute according to the law, and we've got to start holding.
This is how detached they are, though, I think, from like what's really happening in the real world, because anybody that, even if you haven't been through the justice system before, you know that if you get arrested with an illegal firearm, unless you make bond, you're not just getting out the next day. And half the time you're not making bonds. So that's
holding them accountable.
not, you
When
got to
we
be able
bring
to have
law and
bond. You know
order
what I'm saying? Like, that's a
to our
right.
cities,
So if she's
then
suggesting that
that's
they
when
shouldn't
they'll
even
be
have a
safe. You
bond,
don't
that's
do it
crazy.
by defunding the police, and you don't do it by just praising the police. You do it by having their backs, making sure we passed the first body camera bill in the country in South Carolina to make sure that law enforcement felt like they could do their job without feeling threatened about them doing their job. But we have to have prosecutors prosecuting. We have to defund sanctuary cities. We have to get these stolen guns and drugs off the street. And the only way we can do that is when we empower law enforcement.
Governor
Now, I
DeSantis.
just think, that quote from the president, former President Trump, is a little bit rich because he was president during the worst rioting in the modern history of this country, the BLM riots in the summer of 2020. When I saw that happening in Minneapolis, in Florida, I called out the National Guard. We had state law enforcement deployed. We said, you're not burning down our cities in this state. And you know what?
Was that the worst riots in American history? I don't think so.
It didn't happen. He sat in the White House and tweeted law and order.
You know what?
He did nothing to ensure.
That made me like, I wonder why no Republican, I've never seen a Republican like even make an attempt to appeal to African American communities. And then like, I got some Republican friends that are like, oh no, Republicans aren't racist, Democrats are racist. I'm like, too, like as well, you know what I'm saying? They never try to do any type of African American outreach. They got Candace Owens and like Kanye West some of the times. Man, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that those are the only two black people that's Republicans. I know it's more black Republicans, but I'm saying that they don't try to do any outreach or appeal to a African American base at all. They don't do it at all.
Law and order. As your president, I would
It's
never let
unfortunate
our
because
cities burn. You have
as a black man in America, there are some Republican policies that I do like, but the fact that it seemed like they just kind of write off the African American community make me sometimes not even want to listen to nothing that they say.
every right to stop this runaway rioting as president. In fact, you have a duty. Now, Nikki Haley and I have a disagreement on the BLM stuff too, because she tweeted during this period of time that the death of George Floyd should be, quote, personal and painful for each and every American. But people in Iowa had nothing to do with that, or Florida or South Carolina. She was virtue signaling to the left. She was accepting the narrative, and she was trying to impress people who were never going to like us. I never bought into going after the police. We back the blue to the
right there. People that was never going to like us. What is that even? What do you mean by that? You know what I'm saying? People that was never going to like us. Well, what? What people? What people are you talking about, DeSantis?
Thank you, Governor DeSantis.
Florida, and we have lower crime as a result of that.
Thank you, Governor Haley.
It's interesting that he did that. He put a tweet that was very similar, but let me tell you why I did that. First of all, we had one of the worst two racial shootings. We had the shooting of Walter Scott, who was shot 7 times in the back by a dirty cop. We had a horrific shooting at a church where a white supremacist came in and killed 9 amazing souls. BLM, all of that, we never had to deal with riots. We never had to call in the National Guard, Ron, because when we had both of those shootings, we were able to pull people together. We didn't have riots, we had vigils. We didn't have protests, we had prayer. We brought people together. I said that about George Floyd. When we turned around and had the worst shooting in a religious place that we had seen in this country, not only did I pass the first body camera bill in the country and keep our state together, not only did I move to bring the Confederate flag down, we came together as a state in prayer, and we had no division, no riots, no anything. We didn't need the National Guard because a leader knows how to bring out the best in their people.
Thank you, Governor. So
I like that.
You have been sparring on the campaign trail for months. We've seen some vicious attack ads going back and forth, and tonight we have had a very lively debate. On a different note, Governor DeSantis.
Anybody else seen that? Let's see. Let's go back to that smile. What the hell is happening?
Did I move to bring the Confederate?
I want to hear, and also I want to hear her say that again because I like what
she
was saying right
and we
there.
had no
Well, what's up
division,
with that
no riots,
smile?
no anything. We didn't need the National Guard because a leader knows how to bring out the best in their people.
Thank you, Governor. So
right on.
You have been sparring on
right on, Nikki Haley. Look at his smile. What the hell is happening right here? In this area right here.
And tonight we have had a very lively debate. On a different note, Governor
You
DeSantis,
kidding me?
let me
What was
ask you,
that?
what do you
What even?
admire
What?
about
What?
Governor Haley?
Well, look, I mean, I think that
It looked
you know,
like he
the
got
United
paid to
Nations,
smile, and he didn't feel
I
like
did
smiling.
think that
Like
she
somebody paid
spoke
him,
out
like you have
strongly
to
on
absolutely
some
have
key
to
issues, and I
smile.
appreciated that. I also appreciate the state of South Carolina. My wife is a College of Charleston graduate. Her parents lived there for many, many years, and so it is a wonderful state. There's a lot of great people there, and I think to be able to have been governor there is a great achievement, and I really appreciate everyone I've gotten to meet in South Carolina.
Governor Haley,
That's
what
what's
do you
up.
admire about Governor
That's what's up.
DeSantis?
I think he's been a good governor.
Okay.
Oh, she tough. She tough.
So we're
Look at
going to
that
squeeze
smile.
in another
Whoa.
quick break. And
Oh crap.
Statements, and we begin with Governor Haley.
First of all, I want to thank the good people of Iowa. I have campaigned for 11 months, whether it's driving a combine or holding a pig at a produce area, or whether it's the fact that we've met owners of bakeries and small businesses. You know, every one of them knows that we can't go through 4 more years of chaos. And if it's Donald Trump, there will be 4 more years of chaos. And
Right.
we can't be a country in disarray
Got
and
a
the world
point.
on fire and go through 4 more years.
Whether you like Donald Trump
And we
or not,
can't
you
go
gotta
to
admit
another
that he is
nail-biter of
very
an election.
chaotic. Like he just
And if you
attracts
look
chaos.
at the
You know?
polls right now,
You could
going
like him, you
against
could
Joe
dislike him,
Biden,
but the one fact
in
that
every one of those
you know what I'm
head-to-head
saying?
polls, Ron doesn't beat Joe Biden.
He attracts
Trump is
chaos and he
head-to-head.
creates
On a
chaos.
good day, he might be up by 2 points. I defeat Biden by 17 points. That's bigger than the presidency. That's House, that's Senate, that's governorships, that's down to school board. That's a mandate to get our spending under control and get inflation down. That's a mandate to get our kids reading again and go back to the basics in education. That's a mandate to secure our borders with no more excuses. That's a mandate to bring law and order back to our country. And that's a mandate for a strong America that we can be proud of. We can do this. I know we can do this. If you will join with me in this movement.
Like to me, just that speech right there didn't sound like to me, it wasn't giving like confidence. It's like we can do this. It was just like, can we? Are you sure? Because I don't think she even believed
If
that.
you join with
I
me
don't
in
think
this
she the
fight,
answer.
I
To be honest.
promise you, our best days are to come. God bless you.
Governor DeSantis.
Well, it's been great to visit all 99 counties here in Iowa. I've been able to meet so many friends and really learn about some of the best of America. Iowa's votes do not need to be corrected by any other state. You all know what you're doing, and we have an opportunity in Monday to really change the course of history. Donald Trump's running for his issues. Nikki Haley's running for her donors' issues. I'm running for your issues, your family's issues, and solely to turn this country around. I'm the only one running that's delivered on 100%.
This would be a perfect time.
Promises.
This would be a perfect time for Nikki Haley to just hold the sign up. DeSantisLies.com. I know how much traffic
And I'm
that
the only
probably
one
got
running
after
that
this.
has beaten the left time and time again, from the teachers' unions to Fauci to the Democratic Party. We need to run under the banner of bold colors that are putting the American people first. We can't run under a banner of pale pastels of the warmed over corporatism, the likes of which is practiced by Nikki Haley. Freedom is on the ballot. Decline is a choice. We have it within our power to fix this country and to turn it around. I am asking for your support in the Iowa caucus on Monday, January 15th. I'll be a president that you can be proud of, and I promise you this, I will get the job done, and I will not let you down. Thank you, and God bless you all.
our thanks to Governor DeSantis.
All right.
Governor Haley.
I think that's enough of that.
Governor DeSantis.
Well, we're going. I think I'm gonna be doing a lot more live reactions. Definitely want to catch some of the debates, some of the upcoming debates for the general election. If you ask me, that debate was kind of underwhelming. That was a genuine live debate. Like I haven't watched that. I saw a couple highlights, but I haven't watched the full debate. So that was like that was genuinely my live reaction to it. I think it was pretty underwhelming. I thought that it would be a lot funnier than that, and I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't really as funny as I expected it to be. But moving forward, I think I'm going to take these a lot more serious, especially when we get closer to the general election, because I do think that this is a serious election. And I'm hoping that we get some good candidates. If you don't know much about politics, you probably think that Joe Biden is running without any challengers, and that's not the case. He does have a couple people challenging him for the presidency on the Democratic side. So I'm looking forward to a debate. Hopefully, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could get up there and get a debate. In a fair world, he would have already got a debate, but it's not a fair world. So I think moving forward, I'll take this a lot more serious. I kind of just wanted to see if I could do a live reaction and how well of a response it would get. I'm open to any feedback as always. You guys know that. Yeah, but that was neither one of those candidates won me over. I generally don't favor Republican candidates, but neither one of them really won me over. I liked what Nikki Haley had to say about, bringing the people together after those horrific shootings out down in South Carolina. And I like her strategy with opening up with saying that DeSantis was a liar and DeSantisLies.com. I thought that was just a great strategy because it kind of took some of the wind, I think, from him moving forward. DeSantis, I think, is just a fake guy. He doesn't seem genuine at all. I don't think he really cares about the people, and he did not convince me that he did during this debate. If anything, he moved me more to the opposite, that he just doesn't care and that he won't be a serious president. He won't be a president for the people. What he said about, I guess if I had to pick something that I liked, what he said about the veterans, I like that a lot. I also am very sympathetic towards how veterans get treated when they come back from war. And I hope that moving forward as a country, we at least one day get a president that does take that serious, not just uses it as a talking point in a debate. So as always, I want you guys to love each other, take care of each other, help each other. I think that, politics isn't for everybody. Some people just don't care. Some people are too busy to give it any attention, and I understand that. But I think that we should encourage each other to at least pay a little bit of attention to what's happening, because these elections do have serious connotations to what happens to our day-to-day and how we carry out our day-to-day. So I'm not trying to encourage anybody to vote. I'm absolutely not trying to endorse any Republican candidate or Democratic candidate for that matter. I just want to do my part in bringing a little bit of light to these debates and start some conversations, and hopefully one day we could actually help each other and make meaningful change. I don't see any candidate on the ballot that could do that and bring meaningful change. But I think that if we start paying attention, maybe one day someone will come up that will bring meaningful change. So as always, I want you guys to love each other. Love yourself first, and then let that love pour out into the world around you. Love you guys. Take care. I'll be back soon.